Hi team, Richard Greer here, back again for another Team CP Quick Connect podcast, the place where we share some learnings from our crew, our team, our athletes, you guys, our coaching team, and also our network of professionals that we work with as well. Today's podcast is all around fast shoes, speedy shoes, race day shoes, those carbon plated versions that we hear so much about, and get the bit of the inside word, how, why, when, should you, shouldn't you, etc. So I'm going to chat to Oska Baynes shortly about that. But before we do, whole lot of stuff going on. This is going to be a big weekend. We've got the Mackenzie, the sort of rebirth of that race, I guess, coming back from sort of that Queen's birthday weekend in the old days in June, snowy, through to more autumn time. So this weekend, so all the best for those people turning up to that. Angus, I'm sure, will be keeping you posted with all things going on at the Mackenzie. The marathon is also on Sunday, the Christchurch Marathon. We know we've got lots of people involved in that. So all the best for everybody doing that. Hang out with those pace runners. Line up on that start line and have a great day. Hopefully everything goes well for you. But one of the other key events that we're involved with as well, with lots of people, Fiona, one of our coaches, is lining up, is the Kaikoura Adventure Race on this weekend as well. Pretty cool that they've got a 48-hour version. We've got Rachel Baker and Ian Martello will probably be already started by the time we reach this podcast. So 48 hours starting on Friday. That's a long time. I think we added it up. It was 84 Ks of running across the course of 2 days. That's if they go the right direction in the Rogaine section. So all the best for those people turning up for that. Other stuff that's going on, we've got an end of season wind up, end of season party, which is going to be a quiz night at the Lighthouse Brewery on the 4th of May the 4th. So as part of that, it's always a great time to kind of connect with our partners. Giant have sent us some stuff. We've got some stuff from Solomon. We've got some stuff from True Fleece, Front Runner, That's It, Pure Sport Nutrition, Gilbo, Tenelli. They've all given us a bunch of prizes. So get along. Should be a fun night for that. And the day after, we've got our Adventure Squad that happens on May the 5th, heading into the hills. So come along for both of those. Winter Swifts starts on Monday, the 29th of April, 3 sessions a week. If you're into that, you can come along and put up with me 3 times a week. Good. All the best for you for doing that. So that's on as well. So lots happening, and looking forward to kind of connecting our community. And actually, one of the other things is our Everest Challenge. It's a bit of a mainstay in the calendar now. So basically, how many vertical meters can you climb over the course of May? We've also linked with the Hillary Trust, raising funds as well. So we'll have a bit more coming out over the next week or so around our Everest Challenge. So maybe keep it flat, keep it downhill over the next week or so, and start of May we'll get into that. But without further ado, let's jump into our chat, my chat that I had with Oska the other day, all about these carbon-plated racing running shoes. And we'll catch up with you shortly. Cheers, team. At the Front Runner, and I thought I need to talk to him about fast shoes. So fast shoes being the carbon-plated versions that we've heard about, and Oska knows a fair bit about shoes, loves his shoes, and be prepared to be amazed by some technical chat that's about to happen.
I'll try and tone it down.
Oska, should we be having fast shoes? What do fast shoes look like? Who are they for?
So defining fast,
yes.
So let's call them event day shoes.
Okay.
So we'll clear that language up.
Yep.
So shoes that I'd like to run hard in.
Yes.
So the effort is up there. It's event day. I want to try and run my fastest 10K, my 5K, my half marathon, or my marathon. Should you have a pair of those shoes? Well, it depends.
It depends. Good. Yep.
On lots of stuff.
Yep.
And I guess like we've talked about it in the past, will the shoes help me run faster? Maybe.
Yep.
Like you're better.
Yep.
Maybe.
Because I've got to get used to these shoes too. It's not something I can just throw on once and then go and have a crack at, because it may change my biomechanics as well. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so basically what we're talking about is Nike started it in 2018 when they came out with their first sort of overstacked, carbon-plated road racing shoe. That's where it all started, and there was some study there around how much foam can we put under someone's foot. Can we enhance the foot's lever? Let's use that term for want of a better word. And can we stiffen that? Because that's kind of what happens when you absorb force and that plantar stiffens, and you suck that all up and then you propel yourself off the ground again. So can we enhance that mechanism? And so then from there they started to develop new materials. They worked with NASA and the stuff they put in between the layers of spaceships. Incredibly light, incredibly heat resistant, incredibly compliant, and incredibly resilient. So can I squash it? How fast does it come back? And the velocity of that resilience. And then so we said, well, if we had materials or foams that we could get more energy return from, so we'll throw that buzzword in there, will that make me then more efficient and more economical in terms of my running biomechanics, not in terms of the metabolic mechanics? Well, that's another conversation. But so be careful with those two words as well. And so the answer there is still maybe, but what we did see is world records begin to fall. And it's not just from that, because I think at the same time we figured out we could pour a few more carbohydrates down the googler as those two things kind of came together. But what we have seen is the general population achieve faster times. Whether that's they can actually run faster or they can maintain a pace for longer that feels like they're going faster. They're not quite the same, but we are seeing that these shoes, we can do more, we're not beaten up as much, we can hold a higher aerobic tempo for a longer time because they do make us more efficient. Or
it's making me more efficient. So it's not necessarily making me faster, but it might be making me more efficient over a certain distance. So how much training do I need to do in one of these shoes to be able to run with it on race day?
This research is still trying to figure this out, and there is some pretty good stuff coming out of like armies and navies, because they've got this mass population base that they can control. And so what we're kind of seeing is 12 hours of use to make sure your body can put up with the biomechanical demands of the footwear. Is my foot going to agree with them? Is my body going to agree with them? Are the different points of my body strong enough to cope with where I'm shifting the load? Where traditional racing shoes, as you and I remember, are these little tiny skinny 120 gram EVA, and your calves and Achilles are screaming at you at the end of running a marathon. Now, because we've got these sort of huge geometry rocked, super stacked, spongy, however many other superlatives I want to throw in there, shows that biomechanical demand has shifted up the food chain towards that proximal hamstring and hip. Also knee, proximal hamstring, hip. And so it's not necessarily an area that we've targeted to strengthen before, or have we? And so we can look at the footwear as strengthening devices, but we need to use them in appropriate amounts of loads to get that adaptive stress, rather than just overload and injure ourselves. Yeah.
Right. So these shoes aren't for every day of the week.
No,
please. But you want us to do 12 hours of training in the before race day. So how much training are these good for? How much running are these shoes good for? Because they're expensive.
That's a good question. That's why I've got two shoes here. So I'm going to pick on Saucony for this example. And what we see in their Endorphin Speed and in their Endorphin Pro is this beaded PIBA midsole. Now, the way they make this is it's highly resilient to compression and lasts exponentially longer than other forms of foam. And so if you are making your way, let's call it a gateway shoe, into that racing product, say the Endorphin Speed with this sort of beaded PIBA foam, you're getting good mileage out of this. You're getting 700k. And rather than this Endorphin Elite, which is the HG, the high grade foam, it does not have the beaded, therefore it doesn't have the extra layer of resin wrapping the beads, not going to last as long. 250, 300.
Is it lighter?
It is lighter, and it's more resilient, so you don't have to squash it so far. So for me, if you've watched me run, that sort of slightly choppy, high cadence, I love this because I just purr in it. I don't have to go down into the shoe to get anything back. Say for you, if you wanted your big, long, lopey stride and you were going to kind of come in contact with the ground with more force or more weight, then you would probably work better in the shoe that you could sink into to then get all of that tensile force back again. So there's little variations in stride, but this sort of beaded PIBA foam will last twice as long as some of these others that just are made, they're more resilient but not as compliant. Anyway,
Do these have carbon foot plates, carbons in them, or are they not so much these days? What's happening there?
The research now, there's some really cool stuff around, do we want a full stiff carbon plate? So that's question one. Do we want a forked carbon plate that sits underneath the metatarsal head, so we can still have some medial to lateral or lateral to medium movement? Because as we know, like sort of pronation is a natural shock absorber. So if we can't do that entirely, is that fair and navicular, which is a little bone in your foot and the arch of your foot, is that fair to put up with all of that? And they're starting to figure out maybe not as we go and we learn. And so the carbon isn't necessarily the magic piece. The magic piece is the foam, which is where you're getting the bounce from. The carbon gives that foam integrity and enhances that longitudinal speed or the time spent on the ground, sort of that wasted movement. So we're trying to get you off the ground again faster. But you can achieve that with plastic, with nylon, and those materials can be a little more forgiving on your feet than that really rigid carbon. And so again, it's super individual, sometimes dictated by pace or weight or surface. I don't think we need rigid carbon shoes for the trail. I think that's a bit silly.
Well, part of the trail is about being connected to the ground.
Correct. Yeah, so do we need that? Probably not. And so can we then say if someone does land quite laterally, do they want a full 4-foot carbon plate under their whole foot so you can't gradually go from out to in a nice, or is it going to whip you across? Do we want that? Probably not. Like, I couldn't conclusively say that, but so there's lots of stuff to consider, and maybe for somebody, the nylon plate, say that's in the speed, is actually faster in terms of how you can control that shoe than the carbon. And so it's not like I wouldn't necessarily get hung up on the carbon thing, is probably what I'm trying to get at. But it definitely helps at top end. So we're talking, let's talk faster than 17.5 k now. And it might help slower than that too, not disregarding, but are you getting the benefit of the carbon? No, you're probably getting the benefit of the foam, and the carbon's holding the foam together.
Okay. So it's really the foam and the shape of the shoe which is the key sort of change that's happened. It's not so much the carbon as such.
The geometry, the way they're producing midsoles, which is the cushioning systems of the shoes, how they're mixing raw materials, how they're blowing them up in hyperbaric chambers, how they can control the temperature and the environment of that chemical transaction, how they pull them out and how fast or how slow they cool them down dictates how much compliance the foam has. I got stuck in a pretty big rabbit hole, but all of those things factor into the shoes are tools and solutions, right? So someone's coming to me, they want a solution for race day or event day, they want a solution for training day, they want a solution for the trail. So instead of looking at these as footwear, you have a problem you need solved. I have a solution, as long as you're willing to listen to me, and we work together on that. And we're learning more about these types of shoes. It's just like my 13th or 14th year selling shoes. I've only had these for 30% of how long I've been doing it. So, hey, we're still learning too. So we're doing our best. But
you're selling hopes and dreams.
Kind of. And I will say that people are, as a general rule, having a good time in them. But we need to make sure they're going to work for you. Can you meet the demands of the footwear? Are they going to do what you think you're going to do? And when it all boils down to it, you still need to sleep, eat, and train. So,
So final question is are these for me? So I guess, is there a duration when it becomes too long or distance becomes too long? Is there a level of fitness I should be at to be able to run with these shoes and actually make a benefit to me? So what are your thoughts there?
It's a great question, and one that I'll answer as generically and as broadly as I can without being too specific. I think if you find them to be comfortable, and I love this there's this Run Cat a sort of system that was developed by a guy in Aussie around, are the shoes going to work for me? So when you put these things on, do you feel stable and secure in the heel? So how much cushioning is there? Do you like that, or is it too much? Same question for the forefoot, so the front of our feet. How does that feel? How does the stability feel overall? How does it feel in the flexibility in the forefoot? Is it too rigid or not rigid enough? So that's not necessarily a wrong or a right answer. That's a sliding scale, and that's super individual. So instead of looking at things in terms of the sort of linear, perpendicular to the ground, sort of how's my pronation or supination or kind of thing. So are they comfortable? Do they fit well? Does my body put up with the amount of cushioning in the heel and the forefoot? Does it like the lack of or the flexibility in the forefoot? If we can ascertain that the footwear you've chosen meets those things that you would like it to, chances are you'll have a really good time in them. I hope that made sense.
But they have to get used to them as well.
Yeah, correct. So you will get used to them. You can adapt to them, but I think that initial in-store and then that first run, you'll know. The amount of, and even if you don't know, I know the signs perhaps of someone putting them on going, we know, okay, not for me, maybe. But are they for you? Sure. Like if you'd like to try them, you have the means to do so, because that's important. Like there's an economical
cost side of things.
Cost side of things. So hey, they're expensive, right? So if you can do that and you want to give them a go, that's fine. I mean, our job is to educate on the pros and cons, risks and benefits of trying anything, whether it's shoes, nutrition, shorts that won't chafe, socks that won't blister, and make sure that you walk out of here feeling like you've got all the information you need to adapt to the solutions that you have.
Going down to time?
Yep.
Is there a duration that this isn't good for me for? Like, is it good for a marathon? Is it good for a half marathon?
Yeah.
What's the story there?
And so again, comes back to solutions.
Yeah.
Brands have 2 or 3 in this category now.
Yep.
They're saying this is a 5K shoe, this is a half marathon shoe, this is a marathon shoe. If we grab this New Balance one off the wall here, I think that's a fantastic 3 to 4 hour marathon shoe for someone.
Okay.
You know, like why not?
Yep.
It's quite stable for what it is in terms of how wide the base is.
Yep.
The material is forgiving,
Yep.
and it's got pretty good volume. So as a solution, if you meet the biomechanical demands of all the bits it's asking of you, sure, you want to run your 4 hour marathon and it feels better than your 1080, 880, Kayano, whatever you've been wearing for your training shoe. I mean, the only thing we know for sure is less weight means better times.
Yep.
Like 100 grams for 1%.
Yes.
So bugger it, if you were in a 400 gram, training shoe and we can put you in a 200 gram racing shoe that's not going to nail you, well, that's 2%.
Okay.
Happy days, I'll take that.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good. So it's not so much like a biomechanical thing so much. It's actually a weight thing. How comfortable can I sort of continue to cope? Are my muscles up for this is the key bit. And I guess how much training have I done to prepare myself for that?
Yeah, and again, like you asked that question around what we should do on them. I want someone to have a decent long run on them. I want someone to go and do a workout on them. I want someone to do some stride outs. I want them to come back and tell me there was no rubbing, there's no hot spots, their calf didn't want to come off, their hamstring doesn't hurt. Like, we need to know that you can do 90 minutes to 2 hours, right? Like if you're going to run a 4 hour marathon, you got to try that in some capacity where you feel like the balance is, this is good, it's not going to hurt me when I go further. And so even for me in my marathon training, I want to take them to an hour and a half. Like I'm going to do something for an hour and a half, and then I know that, hey, that last 45 minutes, I'm probably going to be okay. Yeah.
That's awesome. Hopefully that's helped those people out there. It's a pretty in-depth look at, I was going to call them carbon shoes, but they're not really carbon shoes, are they? Yeah, exactly. As our carbon footprint increasing. Good dad joke.
Highly resilient, compliant, bouncy, fun shoes.
Yeah. That's a great summary. So get down here, have a chat to Oska and see if they are for you and see what they feel like. It's probably the key
100%.
summary from that.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Good job, Oska.
No worries.
Just like that, bouncy fun shoe. So I guess try them if you haven't already. I'll be interested to hear your feedback if you're racing in a pair. All the best for all those people that are out there adventuring this weekend. It's going to be a big one, and I look forward to sharing some stories with you and sharing some adventures that have happened over this past weekend. I'm sure there'll be some fantastic results and things like that go on. So all the best. Well done. Keep in touch, and we'll catch up with you soon. Cheers, team. Over and out.